Welcome everyone to our readers and viewers of Dataquest in our non-stop series of YouTube interviews we are doing ever since the pandemic broke out. And this time we have with us Praveen Cherian, CEO of STL Global Services. Welcome, Praveen.
Thank you. Thanks, Sunil.
Yeah, maybe in 2 minutes, if you can just give a backgrounder of yourself, that would help our viewers.
Sure, Sunil. So currently I'm the CEO, as you mentioned, for STL's Global Services business. I'm currently based out of Gurgaon. So I've been with STL now for a little over 2 years. Prior to this, I was with IBM. I was in the last job heading the IT services business of IBM for India, South Asia region. Spent about 26 years within IBM, doing different roles, starting from sales, doing operations, marketing, heading the delivery organization, and then leading certain lines of business. So that's been my career at IBM, and I started my career with Wipro. So I did a 2-year stint in Wipro, and my boss at that time moved on to IBM, and that's how I had this long tenure with IBM. Have a family, my wife Linu, and 2 boys, Ruben and Rohan. So that's about me in short.
Okay, that's great to hear. So I'll just get straight to it. Telecom is a very exciting industry now with the 5G rollout and all that. So can you speak a bit on the state of managed services in the industry and how it can be a game changer going forward?
Sure. So I think one of the things that we need to recognize as what's happening in the technology area is the number of intelligent devices that are actually available now for all of us to actually interact with or use has been actually exploding day by day. The number of devices have, earlier when started, only the large companies had actually computers. But today, you look at it, every individual carries so many smart devices with them all along. And that's actually changed the entire IT landscape in a very big way. When we started our journey, we started actually having people manage all of these devices, right? So you basically had different sets of skills managing these high compute devices that enterprises had. But over a period of time, the compute has actually moved to the edge where end user devices itself have become very powerful. And then you have IoT devices that also require monitoring and management. In short, there's been a big explosion in the marketplace. It's therefore impossible to actually put warm bodies to manage these devices. And that's when, we've now started having intelligent tooling that's come in place. And the next level that's happening right now for us is where you have the tools, getting to the next level of automation, where many of the repetitive tasks that human beings were actually doing to manage these devices or bring them up when there was an issue is now being handled by machines itself. That means, you have automatas developed to actually address certain incidents that actually need to be monitored and managed. So that's where tooling has come in a very big way, and a lot of transformation has actually happened. But in short, if you step back, so this is the journey that the industry has seen, right? But in short, if you just step back a little bit, why is managed services a game changer? Because, of course, the fact that you have so many intelligent devices that require monitoring management. Many enterprises are, so dependent on IT that a moment's disruption of service from an IT standpoint actually brings the entire organization to a standstill. And therefore, businesses can come to a standstill if any of these systems are actually sort of compromised, or if they actually have a failure in between. So some of the game changers that is actually causing for rapid adoption of managed services is actually reduce cost, because managed service providers actually ensure that they are able to serve more than one client with the set of skill resources, and therefore be able to produce a much better, more cost-efficient model for servicing their clients. increased efficiency, because the tooling and all of the things, automation that you develop is being developed for a larger base. So if a company is doing it in-house, they do all of this development just for a smaller base, right? So again, the efficiency therefore you get doing it at a larger scale for multiple clients by a managed service provider far outweighs what an independent company can do for itself. Third is improved security, because the security can actually be is very important in today's world, especially with cybersecurity being of paramount importance. Many enterprises having been on the wrong side, to deal with certain issues that have cropped up, including ransomware, which has sort of brought their entire systems to a crippling halt. That becomes a big game changer. So if I were to also call out some statistics, right? Gartner found that MSPs can actually provide IT services at 25 to 40% lower cost. So from a cost standpoint, which I talked about, there's a big game changer when actually managed service providers can, provide it for their enterprise clients. The fifth component is actually access to innovation, because you actually have a larger base of people and subject matter expertise who are working across multiple client environments. Therefore, being abreast with the best of technology, right? Because every now and then, every new enterprise is actually going through a technology refresh, bringing in the latest technology. If I were actually an engineer within an enterprise, I would see that cycle every 5 years or 6 years. Whereas when I'm at the managed service provider end, I'm seeing the cycle every other day, because there's one new client of mine who's actually going through a transformation. So what happens is that I'm actually ahead of all the others from a technology standpoint. So innovation again becomes, really paramount and a big game changer for enterprises to look at managed services providers for, their services.
So I think,
so these are components that I think are actually big game changers.
Yeah, so that was a very exhaustive answer, and I just wanted to focus on one thing you said: intelligent. So how much of AI, and I don't know if I can ask, how much of Gen AI are you using? Because I think there are millions of data centers, billions of devices, and the data explosion is phenomenal. So how much of AI, and maybe even if Gen AI you're using?
Sure, Sunil. So let me step back a little bit, right? When you look at managed services in totality, there's one portion where you're monitoring the network or the systems and looking for the general health of the systems. The second part is when these systems actually throw up alerts saying something is going wrong or something requires attention. Earlier, we had, engineers actually look out for those alerts. One, they had to get notified in the right format, and then they had to actually access it. Today, tools ensure that, the engineers reached out for these alerts to different, be it on their desktops, be it on their mobile devices, or wherever they have actually reached out to get that alert. The second part is for the engineer to identify what the issue is, what that alert means, right? And then find a solution for it. So each of these stages have its own turnaround time, because it's a human being that's trying to actually react to a situation. And then the last part is to find a solution and then fix the solution. Now, AI is actually being built to, one, look at common problems, common alerts. And then as and when an engineer starts solutioning it, then the AI is actually being thought that this particular alert, this is the solution for it. So now what happens is when an alert of this nature comes, the first thing that comes up to the engineer is, listen, this alert has come up from the system. It means this, and this is the solution for it. Now, the second part to it is, so therefore you reduce the turnaround time for analysis of an alert. The second part of it is actually where the tool is now doing it by itself. So normally, otherwise, a human being actually, or an engineer needs to actually look at the solution and find an appropriate, time window to solution it and implement that solution, so that the system is actually brought back to normalcy. Now, in this case, what happens is the AI is taught now how to do it by itself. So one, it identifies a problem, it finds a solution for the problem because the AI is thought about this. And then the third part is where it actually deploys the solution by itself based on certain parameters and conditions that it has been taught. So you can see that, most organizations have gotten to a stage where a lot of the alerts, at least 30%, 60% is actually now being identified of all of the alerts that come. There's at least a 30% that actually gets auto-resolved by the tool itself. So that's where, AI is actually playing a big role in terms of managed services.
Another thing you mentioned was cybersecurity. So you mentioned, can you expand on that? I mean, it is a big issue. Are we doing enough? What more can we do? Because now I think so many devices are there, so many endpoints are there. Cybersecurity is a huge concern.
Yes, Sunil. I think cybersecurity is definitely a topic of great importance in today's IT world. Especially CIOs and CISOs are very, very anxious about the security of their IT assets. Especially during the COVID time, most large enterprises within the country were actually impacted with some cybersecurity attack or the other. Almost all large enterprises. Some of them who were actually ahead of the curve were able to get out of the situation very quickly. Some of them were smart enough to even block such attacks on their environment. Now, if you look at it from a cybersecurity standpoint, every enterprise starts looking at the zones in which their security needs to be of paramount importance. It's like how we, build security for our own homes. You have an outer gate for your home. Then you basically have the front door and the back door, which are, with bigger locks. Your bedroom will have another lock. And of course, the safe in your bedroom will have another lock, right? And each area, you actually basically have a sentry or a guard to, safeguard this thing. And it's the same analogy for the IT systems. You basically define what is your core system for an enterprise, which cannot at any point in time be ever compromised, because it would paralyze the activity of the organization, the business activity of the organization. And that becomes, the completely militarized zone. The next part is where you have surrounding systems, which are important, but it does not mean absolute disaster when those are, attacked. Now, attack can come in different ways, and there are a lot of ways in which people try and get and hurt you. Either a denial of service attack or a ransomware attack. A ransomware attack is where they penetrate your database systems, they encrypt it, and then ask for a ransom to ensure that if you want to continue business, then you can't use that database. And most organizations actually run the database on their own, right? So when they manage that database, if that database has all of the information of that enterprise, if that is not accessible by the system, then the entire business comes to a grinding halt. So people, cyber attackers are aware of this, and that's why they actually ask for a huge ransom against these attacks, where they go in, reach out to the heart of the systems of an enterprise, encrypt the databases, and then ask for a large ransom to decrypt the database that they've encrypted with their unique keys. So these are some of the incidents that are really present in the industry. Many people try and keep it out of public news because it is disastrous for them to, have the public know that a large enterprise of their stature have got impacted by a cybersecurity attack. But that's the reality. So the need of the hour is therefore to ensure how do we, safeguard the jewels of the IT infrastructure of an enterprise. And that's what cybersecurity is all about.
That's quite interesting. So also I wanted to know how can managed services simplify the management and maintenance of networks? Because people just think of the networks. They don't think of how it can be simplified.
Yes. So, I think in terms of simplification, right, the entire thing, as I said, when you now look at just the network portion of it, and you spoke about the network portion of IT managed services. So IT managed services, as I said, includes the systems, the storage, the network, the security systems of an enterprise. But if you look at from the maintenance of networks and support of networks, ensuring that you have reduced complexity and burden is of paramount importance. That is actually helping you to simplify your network, because every organization grows organically, even from an IT landscape standpoint. And if proper planning is not done, then the network can actually get to be a lot more complex than it need to be, right? And that is where a managed service partner can actually help the enterprise, design a complex-free design for the IT network infrastructure. Second is in terms of ensuring that the network is designed for high performance and reliability, which is very important. And especially the second part of reliability is very important. A study by Gartner found that businesses that outsource their network management to an MSP can experience 10 to 20% improvement in network performance. And what it means by network performance is, one, to ensure that the design of the network is proper. The design of the network is such that it also provides high availability of the network. So a single device failure does not cause the network to come down, especially the core network of the enterprise. And that becomes really important. And the third part is about having increased security and protection at the network layer. As you are aware, the network provides access both internally within the organization, between the headquarters, the data center, the headquarters, and all of the branch offices of an enterprise. But at the same time, it also provides access for outsiders to access the company's websites and portals and all the other things. At all of these instances, you need to ensure adequate security at the network layer to ensure that you do not have any of these attacks that we talked about from a cybersecurity standpoint. So these actually become a very important perspective. Second, the fourth one is on enhanced visibility and control, right? Ensuring that we have full visibility and control of the entire IT landscape is very important, because unless you have your eyes on your IT landscape, you will not know what is happening in that entire IT landscape, especially for a large enterprise whose IT landscape is huge. The last part is on support and troubleshooting, because one is to actually have visibility, the other is to ensure that you're taking proactive steps, and when there is an incident, you're reacting to it faster. A study again by Forrester Research found that businesses that outsource their network management to an MSP can experience a 20 to 30% reduction in network downtime. So a good set of visibility of the network, ensuring proper support and troubleshooting is in place, will actually help enterprises, be out of issues that they have on the network.
So I think I've got most of the stuff. I'll just end it with maybe, can you speak a bit about future trends in the telecom industry, both in India and abroad? And maybe I'd like to extend that, because, the government has this mission 2047, like we should be a tech superpower 100 years after independence. So where is the, telecom network managed service part on that? I know it's slightly futuristic, but I'd be interested in your thoughts.
So first, Sunil, let me talk about in terms of what the network is doing for us, especially what a telco does for each one of us, lay persons like us, right? If you look at a couple of years back, right, when the network was not so predominant, especially from a data connectivity standpoint. Of course, the telcos provided us with voice connectivity for many years, but the data connectivity has just started happening in the last few decades. It was not prevalent before that. But what data connectivity actually provided for each one of us is it brought the world to us. It it made the world meet wherever we were. We do not now today have to go to a bank to deposit a check. We don't need to actually go to a bank to transfer money. We don't need to go to a grocery shop to buy a grocery. We don't need to go physically to any of these places to do routine stuff like payment of bills, electricity bill or a water bill. Think of the days where, when we were young and someone in our family actually had to queue up to actually pay one of these bills, right? The other is from an entertainment standpoint. You actually had to visit a cinema hall to watch a movie. Today, that is available at the touch of a button on our laptop, on our phone, or a tablet. So there's been a complete transformation in such a way that you can actually meet the world at where you are. The world meets you at your footstep, at your doorstep. And that's been brought through by connectivity and by, the role that the telecom players have played for us in our lives. And that's a big, big thing that's happening. Now, the telecom players provide that connectivity both through wireless as well as with wired. And from a technology standpoint, there's always this, the left leg overtaking the right and the right then overtaking the left, just like how we walk ahead, right? And that's the same way that, both wireline as well as wireless technologies have been actually competing with each other. But predominantly what has happened is the wireless technologies have been at the last mile. The wired, even within enterprise or within a telco network, the core of the network is on a wired infrastructure. At STL, we are very proud, especially the role that we've played within the country. We are proud that we have established over 50,000 kilometers of fiber deployment across the country, be it for the telcos or for the government or for the defense in very tough terrains. But that's something that you will see from a technology standpoint. And I think this continuous journey where you will have new applications and new services that require higher bandwidth growing, and therefore the need to push for higher speed technology, lower latency technology, both on wired as well as wireless, will keep progressing. And that's something that you will predominantly see as technology evolves. But it therefore makes the experience for us to meet the world wherever we are much better, much richer. And it actually then gives us a lot more dimensions than what we can actually even think of today. So that's where I think technology is headed. Very exciting times, but you will see progress both from a wireline technology as a wireless, and more and more you will see wireless trying to extend itself from just being at the access level, but at the same time you will see the wired technologies being predominant and having much better bandwidth and latency at the core. So that's something that will continue.
So, thank you. That was very exhaustive. So I also came to know a lot about managed services and the network. Thank you very much for your time.